starts now with breaking news.
Good morning, Richmond. I'm Delaney Hall.
And I'm John Rogers. That breaking news, a man shot to death in Petersburg just hours ago. His body found in a car outside of a gas station.
Now it follows a rash of violence in the city. 8 News reporter Sabrina Shutters joins us live in Petersburg this morning. Sabrina, what do we know? Well, John, Delaney, this is the fourth shooting in just 4 days here in Petersburg. And Petersburg's deputy police chief says young people just can't seem to solve their conflicts without guns.
So young people, all young people, because I mean, that's what he said. He said young people. And of course, this is his son, Chief. Young people. So that means if you're walking through Petersburg and you see a young crouching tiger or a young Patel or a young glacier glider or a young hombrito, you could safely assume that he's talking about them. Because it's young people that can't seem to solve their differences without guns. That's interesting. Let's go to the gun memorial for Petersburg, Virginia. Off to the gun memorial. Okay, for those of you who are new to the channel, this is the gun memorial. All of the victims, fatal victims of gunshots. And they have each city, each state. So this is for Petersburg, Virginia, because remember, young people, it could be any type of young person, has trouble solving their issues and their differences without guns. So let's see, we got a Jaquan, a Raekwon, a Taekwon, and a Taiwan, all on the first row. And Taiwan's 15. Taekwon's 20. Raekwon's 25. Well, Jaquan's old. He's old head. He survived a long time. He a dinosaur. Second row. Look, we got a Fequan. A Fequan. He's 22, man. Family wants answers in mysterious murder after arrest is made. Okay. I'm still trying to find all these young people, because all I'm seeing is young son people. Talia, 19. Tamaya, 19. So yeah, seems to me that there's something else going on here in Petersburg besides young people not being able to solve their differences without using guns. I think there's a little deeper level Mr. Police Chief should take it when he addresses the public with this issue.
Well, John, Delaney, this is the fourth shooting in just 4 days here in Petersburg. And Petersburg's deputy police chief says young people just can't seem to solve their conflicts without guns. Take a look at the scene this morning. Now, police swarming the Marathon gas station on South Crater Road, where they say that man was found dead after being shot on Mars Street. Right now, police don't have any suspect information. And just on Friday night, 3 shootings left 6 people hurt, 3 of them children. Those children shot along Holly Hill Drive, and the second scene near the Wendy's on South Crater Road Friday night, where one of those adults were shot. Now, if you know anything about what happened in any of these shootings, Petersburg Police wants you to call Crime Stoppers. For now, live in Petersburg, Sabrina Shutters, 8 News.
We're here at the corner of Haynes Avenue and Brooklyn Park Boulevard, not far from where Kenny Cooper Jr. was shot and killed on April 5th. That was around 7 p.m., and it was a robbery. As you can see behind me, the vigil to honor Kenny's life just wrapped up. Folks still here milling around, talking, sharing stories about Kenny, hugging his mother, Laverne, who is here very emotional, shed some tears and also spoke very bluntly to the community about trying to stop the violence. Now, I want to bring in one of the first speakers at the vigil here, Marquise Trent. He's joining me now. He said he's a friend of the family. He also does a lot of work in the community to try to prevent violence. Marquise, what you really wanted to convey to the community tonight?
I really just wanted to truly convey that we got to treat people how we want to be treated. You can say a lot, you can do a lot, but truly, how you treat people is what's going to come back to you. And it's easy to be full of passion and go and retaliate. I totally understand that. But we'll never really see the change in Richmond or anywhere else that we want to until we start to treat each other differently. Really start loving one another through the midst of it. And that's why the Guns Down, Gloves Up movement has been so successful in cities across America, because it's a form of conflict resolution, like it used to be. You can fight today, live tomorrow, and who knows what can happen from there.
A couple of things, bro. Salute to Kenneth, man. It is, what can you do? There's no solution, so it doesn't matter, you know. He talks, and y'all be bad because I talk too slow. Well, listen, man, you know, I got to play these videos at 2 times the speed. I got to play it at 1 and 125 the speed. Listen, man. Y'all try doing this, man. Get your own channel. Try doing this. Try covering this, man. I be trying to make sense of this stuff, man. He said the Guns Down, Gloves Up initiative has worked in other places. That's not true. I don't know where he got his data from, but, you know, I'm 8,000 videos in, and I've done quite a few videos on Guns Down, Guns Up, paintballs up, guns down. They shoot each other with paper, water gun fights versus shooting each other with guns, all types of stuff. I've done videos. And on all those cities, since 2020, murders through the roof. They're setting records that they haven't seen since the 80s and 90s in murder. Carjackings, robberies, everything's through the roof in all of those cities. And even in the past, pre-2020 America, none of that stuff worked. It didn't do anything. The problem is that, okay, you want to get guys that, you know, put on the gloves instead of fight. But this case, the guy got robbed and killed during a robbery. How are you going to mediate that? Telepathically? You're going to Minority Report? You're going to turn into Tom Cruise in Minority Report and see the crime before it happens, and then get the gunman, the robber, and put some boxing gloves in his hands and get the victims, put some There's no solution, man.
You can fight today, live tomorrow, and who knows what can happen from there.
And you said you grew up in the Richmond area, and you managed to get out of, perhaps a not so great lifestyle, and now you're giving back and going into schools, Richmond Public Schools, talking to elementary school students.
Yeah.
What are you doing with them? What are you talking to them about?
I'm talking to them about choices. My story, like I say, I was raised good, but the streets bad, so I do have an understanding of right from wrong, as the speaker said. But I did get caught up in these streets. I did run the streets. I did get in trouble. I did go to jail. I have been in life and death situations, so I know firsthand what it feels like to be on the wrong side of the gun, to be in violent situations. However, destiny is real. So what I talk to these young people about is purpose. What do you truly want to become? Your life does mean more than just what these people say on TV and things of that nature. And I talk to them about the reality that when you make a choice, some stuff you can't take back. Like when you shoot a gun, you can't pull that bullet back. If you kill somebody, you can't bring them back, no matter how sorry you are. So I teach them to value themselves, and I teach them to use the gifts that they have. And then they can earn money and help change other people's lives.
Well, Marquise, we certainly appreciate what you're doing for the community and appreciated your words here tonight at the vigil. Again, we were here at the vigil for Kenny Cooper Jr., 27-year-old shot and killed April 5th during a robbery. Working for you tonight in Richmond, I'm Melissa Hippolyte for CBS 6.
A Maryland woman visiting her son in Kingman Park
Hey, stop it right now. Cars, come out. Get out of here, you
was lucky to fend off her attackers. Police say the 13-year-old, far too young to drive, grabbed her and demanded her keys.
My mom, she's a pretty tough woman, but it could have definitely got a lot worse. The guy had his hand in the pocket the whole time, so he
Tell you something about Kingman Park, man. Kingman Park. The fact that this guy lives in Kingman Park now is Now, Kingman Park, a lot of homes, mostly homes, not projects or anything like that, but still just historically rough neighborhood. And you didn't see people that looked like this guy there. So that's letting you know that it's an up-and-coming neighborhood, as they would call in D.C. That's what they call them in D.C. They call these up-and-coming neighborhoods. Whenever you start seeing gliders walking their dogs late at night, gliders pushing $600 strollers, you know it's changing. So this neighborhood has gotten a lot safer over the last 10 years or so. However, 2020 happened and it's now descending back to where it was. Even though the demographic has changed, because now it only takes a few Sunmen because they can all repeat offend. So the Sunmen get to repeat offend and get out, and repeat offend and get out. They get to commit crimes, get out, commit crimes, get out, commit crimes, get out, commit crimes, get out. So it doesn't take as many. So you don't need a 90, well, this was, they was probably 98% Sun people in the year 2000. Now it's probably what? 50% Sun people, 40% Sun people maybe. Well, I'd say about 50. But whereas the Sunmen would get arrested for their crimes and locked up, now they get out the next day. So you don't need as many of them. So these people, right, like him, who were, I guarantee, were 100% down with the whole BLM and the whole, they got their, America has their knee on the Sun Man's neck. The whole, all the talking points, the whole institutional, systematic disparities, all that stuff. This guy was 1,000% with it. I promise you, I don't have to know him. He lives in D.C. and he's a glider. He's 1,000% with it. Criminal justice reform, all that stuff. So I'd say all that to tell you, don't feel sorry for this guy. Because he is making it the whole city more dangerous. And the majority of the people who suffer from that are Sun people. Hardworking Sun people who just going about their day, who are more likely to be proximal to these Sun teens and these Sun gremlins that are out here committing crimes like they're playing a video game. This guy right here, him and all the pasty liberals in D.C. Have literally not just co-signed, but demanded this.
A Maryland woman visiting her son in Kingman Park.
Hey, stop it right now. Cars, come out. Get out of here, you
Was lucky to fend off her attackers. Police say the 13-year-old, far too young to drive, grabbed her and demanded her keys.
My mom, she's a pretty tough woman, but it could have definitely got a lot worse. The guy had his hand in the pocket the whole time, so he could have potentially had a weapon.
Forrest Kruger figures the boys were scared off when they realized they were on camera.
The most violent incident was here on 12th Street Northeast, just off the busy 8th Street corridor. Police say a woman was sitting here in her car when they say the 13-year-old approached, ripped open the door, demanded her car keys.
When she refused, they say, he hit her repeatedly in the back of the head. And then instead of taking off in the car, they say he took off on foot. Miraculously, the woman was coherent enough after this to talk to the police and give them a description. A few days ago, here on Rhode Island Avenue Northwest near busy Logan Circle, a Maryland family tells me they had two cars, changing a flat tire in one of them. They say that the 13-year-old jumped into the other car and they actually dragged him out of the car. Just then, they say his buddy approached, waving what looked like an assault rifle. The dad, holding the 13-year-old by the neck, says that he said, "Go ahead, shoot me, you'll kill your buddy too." But both of them eventually escaped. The 13-year-old is supposed to be in court right now, but because he's a juvenile, we're having a hard time getting details.
That's one busy 13-year-old, man. My God. All over the city, man. All over Northeast, man. Like, wow. Just busy. Now, it does show one thing, that when they put their mind to something, man, they can be really good at something. All that lazy talk, all that, prone to idleness, not when it comes to crime, though. When it comes to crime, man, we take on a whole new mentality when it comes to crime, man. Can't nothing stop us, man. Okay, so the reporter, Bruce LeShan, he's come up with a update. You have an update on the young boy who was going around welcoming all these people to D.C. Now, I'm sure that all the people he assaulted were gliders. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. Okay? But, because that's the starter kit. When you're this young, that's how I was, man. We mostly, it was like almost 95% gliders that we preyed on when I was a little older than this kid, but not much. It was gliders you prey on at this age. When you graduate, when you graduate, you get to the next level, that's when you start, diversifying your game. Start going big game hunting. But when you're young in a city like this, you begin with gliders. because they're just easier targets, softer targets in democratically run cities with tough gun laws. So here's our update on our little 13-year-old greeter, welcoming committee member. Breaking. Prosecutors are working on a plea deal for the D.C. boy accused in a quick, violent burst of robberies and carjackings. They always got to sanitize it and minimize it the best they can. Quick, violent burst of robberies and carjackings, including an attack with a hammer. He's being held for now because of a history of absconding. So a history of absconding means that he's been arrested and he's been given court dates after being released, of course, and he hasn't showed up to his court dates. So you give him a court date and he gives you the fingers. And he has a history of that at 13. When I tell you, oftentimes I tell you guys how many times these teens have been arrested. And I tell you for two reasons. I tell you for one reason, to let you know that the whole scared of police, the police, he was scared. That's why he was fighting the police. He saw the police and he thought he was going to die. These kids have been arrested 30, 40 times by the time they're 18. I'm talking about chased down, because they run most of the time, tackled or grabbed up, dragged back to a police car, handcuffed, driven down to the station or the receiving home or wherever they processed them at. Processed, fingerprint, picture, all that. And then give release to their parents. Or sent to juvenile hall, or sent to a receiving home, or sent to a boys' home. 40, 50 times. Sometimes even more. So the whole scared of police narrative, they're not scared of police. It's actually the opposite. And the other reason I tell you that is to tell you that, you're not dealing with somebody, you're not dealing with a kid. You're dealing with a hardened criminal. So all this, no. Not a kid, man. We're talking about a hardened criminal. So anyway, goes on to say, the judge orders the 13-year-old withheld. So he's not getting out this time. It says he's a good student. I mean, the judge orders him his name and age withheld so the cops can't release, the courts can't release it to the media, even though we already know he's 13. But we can't get his name, which I'm fine with. They have laws for juveniles. It is what it is. I'm fine with the name. They say he's a good student. The judge says he's a good student. So this is what I want you guys to understand. This kid is a good student, which in DC public school, it means something different, but still, he's a good student, according to the judge. This is one of the good ones. This is a good kid. This is one of your best and brightest, man. "2020, the wokeopolis, the Pakistani Spring, the summer of Floyd, is going to go down as one of the biggest and most infamous mistakes and blunders that any society has made in recent memory." Okay? Emboldening Sunmen, telling them that they can commit crimes, and if a cop arrests them, the whole world will protest and burn buildings and throw Molotov cocktails at police precincts and attack police officers, women, children, gliders, crouch attacks. Everybody will join in. That was a huge blunder. And at this point, I don't know how you reverse that without a draconian crime bill. Something that, like, maybe 20 years after, they'll be crying about that too, like they did the last one. Because remember, the first one in the 90s, everybody was with it. I mean, everybody was with it. That's one thing that people kind of forget about the first crime bill, that everyone was with it. I mean, it was like everybody was on board. Yo, let's do it. All systems go. Everyone in favor? Aye, 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 aye. It was literally like, aye. Everyone in favor. Especially in the Sun community. That thing was that thing was a landslide. It was like, yes, do something, whatever. You have carte blanche. People didn't even read the crime, but they just like, yo, got a crime, but cool. You sure you don't want to look over this? Is it strong? Yeah, okay, fine. I trust you. Just make it as strong as possible. And then 20 years later, everyone was crying about it and whining about it. They locked up a generation of Sun men. This one needs to be harsher than the last one. This crime bill needs to be twice as strong as the last one. And yeah, in 20, 30 years, they'll come back whining about it was racist and it was some ill intent, malicious, to try to hold Sun people back. And it was done with, malice and nefarious. Fine. But I'm only concerned about right now. And right now, we need it, man. We need another crime bill ASAP. Because if this is a good student, this kid's a good student. And the judge says it. So I'm sure the judge, in these juvenile cases, they have files on all these kids. They have their guidance counselors and all the assessments and all the scores, test scores and all that stuff. So I'm a believer. This kid's a good student. America, you are in deep, and I mean deep, 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 deep trouble.